Hey NFD, Steve Savoca, Captain, Ladder 5 B Shift. Hey, we're going to do a full side removal on this Volvo. So here we're starting at the front, simulating that we have a critical patient. So we want to start at whatever location they're at in case they get sicker and we need to get them out faster. So here we're trying to get to the front hinges and we need to create a purchase point. So the way we do that is we want to pinch the front fender between the front strut and the firewall. So just rearward of the front strut. And then what we want to do, that's got a pretty thick hood, but what we want to do is get the back end of the tool really high, open the spreader all the way, push it in, and then try to pinch that fender. And doing that will shrink the profile of that fender and give us space. And then you can see we used the Halligan to give us just a little bit more space that we needed. And then we're going to finish getting that fender out of the way with the spreader. He's just going to come in there low and get that last attachment point and get the wheel well out of the way as well. And then you'll see our cutter is going to come in and start attacking the hinges. Remember, when we're attacking hinges, it's a best practice to cut hinges versus spreading. Spreading is much more violent. Remember, when you spread, you're only taking space from one place and putting it somewhere else. Cutting, we're actually removing metal, right? So here, he's trying to get those cutter tips in. He doesn't have quite the space he needs, so he decides we're going to go low and get that lower hinge. And then you'll see in the background, you'll see the spreader guy trying to create a little space. He'll pinch the door, or you can also get the spreader in between the door and the body and do it that way, or even put the spreader in the window opening and pop it that way. So there, he's doing that a little bit. It seems to get a little bit more space, maybe not a lot. Here he grabs the wiring harness and attacks that lower hinge, and then you'll see that it'll move that door a little bit, and then he gets the space he needs to get the cutter in the in that upper hinge area. So let's watch him do that. So remember to peel and peek and stabilize the vehicles, right? Identify where the airbags are. This one is a vehicle on its wheel, so remember we're putting chocks under critical spots, just inward of all four wheels, under the A-post, and then in front of the rear wheels. And that'll be just widen our platform, strengthen the base, and give us some good places to push off of. So there he cut through. You can see the door relax. You know you cut all the way through. Watch the bills of the cutter cross over. There he's got the door check. Just a sturdy piece of plastic or lightweight steel that he's going to finish cutting. And then they'll put the spreader in there and pop that door out of the way. And that should kind of tweak the rear latch area towards the B post and give us a little purchase point there as well. Again, if you don't have a good purchase point, we don't want to operate with just the tips of the spreaders. So take small bites. Go in with whatever purchase you can get. Push the tool in as far as it'll go. Open the spreader, and then close the spreader. Push the tool in. Open the spreader. Get more purchase. Close the spreader. So on and so forth. So here we're going to come around, and he's just going to pop it. And watch how violent that door pops off, right? So we want to control it. Make sure that you take a piece of webbing and wrap it around the window opening, or otherwise somebody's got hands on it, right? Especially if we're working with line tools and we've got hoses on the ground. We don't want that door to land on those hoses and create a hydraulic leak. We're dealing with 10,500 psi of hydraulic pressure, even in these tools. So we don't want to create leaks. So here he's grabbing that wiring harness, attacking the rear door hinges, and he grabbed the harness in the same bite as that upper hinge. And we're just going to cut through that. Remember, when you're attacking door hinges, try to avoid the intersection. It's usually pretty beefy. There's usually a pin in there. So try to attack either the door side or the body side of the hinge. There's less real estate there, and it's usually easier. Just a little side note, this cutter is the EBFC 320. This is 320,000 PSI of cut force. It's probably one of the best cutter on the market. From what I've seen, I haven't seen it not be able to cut through stuff. So this is pretty stout. This is what you're gonna find on truck one. The rest of our rigs will have the SLC 29s, which is still very stout, about 280,000 PSI cut force. Still a very good tool. So here we're just spreading that door, again, creating a good purchase for us to get at that rear nadir pin to either spread or cut. If you can create a purchase to spread and then get the cutter in, that's ideal. Here they chose to just use the spreader and pop it. Again, controlling the door. You can see here they'll actually break through the rear quarter with the spreader, and then they'll come around the other side and finish the job. Several ways to do this, guys. Again, through some of these videos, these spreader tips are very aggressive. They've got some pretty strong, sharp teeth on them, so it's not uncommon for them to get caught in the work. So just be mindful of that, and you're going to have to wiggle it to get it out. Sometimes you'll end up closing the tool and pinching the steel too. So just be aware of that. So they're going to go around from the inside and just finish it here. You could also come in straight vertically with the back end of the tool pointing towards the sky and come down from the outside. That would work. Or maybe even get the cutter in there. Several options here. Right? See how violent that was. So there's the door. So now we're going to go cut the bottom of the B-post. They had already gotten one cut on the front. Remember, you start low. Ideally, you don't want the weight of the B-post and its door on the cutter. It'll pinch it and make it hard. So that's why we cut the bottom first, and then we'll cut the top. Being mindful down there would be the seatbelt retractors, maybe some pyrotechnics for seatbelt pretensioners. So we want to steer clear of that. We've identified where they were and steered clear of that. And you can see that B-post is just about done. As those bills cross over each other, complete the cut, you'll see that that B-post is severed. And then remember, we're cutting low and flat on the B-post, as low as we can, because when we take the patient out, we don't want to drag them across any jagged steel. And then up here, we're going to cut as high as we can, being clear of seatbelt changes direction. Sometimes there's adjustment pieces there, and it's very stout. So we're going to be clear of that, cut that, and then we end up having a piece of trim to mitigate, which is no big deal. We get that out of the way. And then we would either retract the seat manually, or sometimes we have to cut those recliners and then get that patient out, boarded and out to definitive care. So as we finish that, just appreciate you guys being here. If you have any questions, reach out, and hopefully you'll watch the rest of the videos. And there's the last piece of trim, and we're done. Thanks for watching, guys.